coming out. We do want to go ahead and get started. We know traffic was a little bit of a delay this morning. It was quite a bit going on. So thank you all, and thank you for your diligence in getting here. We understand that that sometimes can be a feat in itself. So we also want to make sure, I'm Jaha Martin, and I am chairing this meeting. It's my last meeting as chairman of the Homelessness Planning Council. And we do want to welcome our new members. And so at this time, I want to give an opportunity for them to introduce themselves. And you can just tell us your name and agency and what are you passionate about around ending homelessness? So I'm going to start with the lady to my right. And I'm sorry, just as a point of clarity, I have not did this. Hit the person on the front of you because we are being recorded, and so that the system can pick you up. If you'll help her out, Liz.
It is only once.
Once. Do not be like me and shut the whole thing down.
Right. So hello everyone, my name is Andrea Hancock. I'm with Stars Nashville. I do contract work with a lot of programs. I'm mostly in the mental health and substance abuse field. And what makes me passionate about working with policies with the unhoused population is I was once unhoused at a point in time. And so I do know that it's very important to have housing. Housing is important. That's the basic need. So I'm just here to learn and to impart whatever experience, strength, and hope and expertise I have to the matter.
Thank you.
I am Meredith McLeod-Jolin. I am the executive director and co-founder of Shower the People Nashville. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by background, and I'm very passionate about making sure that we are helping our folks and using a trauma-focused lens, because that's what my background's in.
Drew Freeman, I'm the CEO of Safe Haven Family Shelter. I am passionate because I also have lived experience. As a youth, my mom passed away and I was couch surfing for about 6 years. So I want to give back and bring some awareness and attention to families that are actually experiencing homelessness.
Good morning. My name is Lizzie Goddard. I am the Housing Innovation Officer for Refugee Housing Solutions, as well as a contractor with continuums of care around the country. I'm very passionate about the intersection of immigration and refugee resettlement and housing stability, and ensuring that folks that are new to the country have access to stable housing and preventing them from losing housing. In addition to ensuring folks that are trying to re-access housing stability are not turned away due to background or credit, eviction, things like that. So I'm excited to be here.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Southard. I work at Vanderbilt Medical Center. I have been there for nearly 15 years. Kind of that first quarter was working in the adult emergency department with patients experiencing psychiatric illness. And then for about 6 years, I worked on the street psychiatry team with Dr. Cheryl Fleisch as a homeless housing navigator, working with patients that were also medically very fragile and experiencing homelessness. And I currently am in a position in the Office of Health Equity, still at Vanderbilt, so playing the long game there, seeing some really great changes. And I'm very, very pleased to be back in this community, bringing my experience now from a health policy and health equity lens back to the community that I've always been very passionate about helping. So, thank you.
Good morning, David Langle-Martin, Chief Housing Officer with Park Center. I'm excited to be here. I've been with Park Center for 8 years. I'm passionate about affordable housing for folks who are often left out and pushed aside. I believe in high quality, high fidelity, housing first, supportive services. I believe in low barrier housing and just making pathways for more people to get involved from the business community, developers, finding ways to show everyone the role that they can play in this effort to solve homelessness. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Again, we welcome them, because I do know we have some people who are here. I have a little special thanks of things going on as well, but I also want to make sure that we honor those board members who are rolling off. So as we welcome new board members, we also bid farewell to some really great board members who have been in the trenches with us doing this work. So at this time, I want to make sure that we extend our appreciation to them. And so I am going to ask maybe one of the OHS staff come to maybe just help me. Allison, I'm just looking dead at her. She's right there. Why not? So our first certificate of appreciation, which these are, has our mayor's signature, goes to Miss Catherine Knowles, who we know has been instrumental in helping us to keep families at the forefront, as well as with our children and families experiencing homelessness within Nashville Public Schools. So let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Catherine. And then Tom Turner, who is not here, we also want to make sure, we'll make sure that he gets this certificate of appreciation. We have Mr. Wendell Seagroves as well. And so we will be sure to get them these certificates. But just know, we definitely appreciate all that you have done and contributed to this board. And we know that we will continue to do this work. So thank you so very much. All right. Okay, so since this is my last meeting, I do want to take an opportunity just to really take the time to thank various people for all of the work and the support, and to also just kind of recap where we have come from in this. I think when we started, part of what my focus was really, I said, you know, as a board chair and as a board, I'm hopeful that we continue to move this work, because we understand that this is a matter of life and death, and that homelessness and poverty is traumatic. And so oftentimes we know that personalities people can have personality conflicts, but my hope has always been that we remember what we are here for. And one of the reasons I ask people, what brings you to the table? Because once you figure out why we are here and the goal is to end homelessness, then we have to look at how we do that. And as we do that, we have to remember that even though we have our conflicts and our differences, most of us are going home to houses, some sort of bed and some sort of peace that others do not have. And so with that being said, just to remember that as we continue to move forward as a community and as a board, that we want to make sure we stay focused on that. And I just want to highlight some of the successes that we as a community have experienced over these last 2 years. I think maybe 3 months into my chairmanship, Metro Council approved $50 million of ARP funding. And so we are in the process of making sure that that money is spent well, making sure that that is being distributed to those in need. We have developed a community strategic plan that continues to be ongoing. We have moved the collaborative applicant to the lead agency with HMIS, and so that continues to happen. We know that HUD has not given the final approval, but that was a big overhaul. And we, of course, thank Susie for all of her continued work and help that she gives to support us, because we know we would not be where we were without that, and we appreciate her and her expertise. The Office of Homeless Services moved from Metro Homeless Impact Division to their own office. And now, I think for the longest, I remember me and April would be getting these agendas together and literally typing up things and sitting down, me, April, and Susie, going over board orientation stuff. And now there's a staff to help with all of that. So we are most appreciative and thankful for that. For some reason, the CAB, the Consumer Advocacy Board, was not active. We had a challenge from our folks with lived expertise who was like, hey, why is this board not active? I'm like, you are exactly right. Let's get it. So we now have an active CAB, which is moving and thriving, and also getting consultation from national expertise, and best practices. So we are appreciative to them, and under that leadership of Kenitha and April, and they continue to move. I want to make a special...
April Burns Norris,
April Burns Norris, yes, I'm sorry for those who don't know. I want to make sure to give my sincere appreciation to the executive committee. They have shown up, they have been supportive and have been helpful to me throughout this process and have been just really a delight to work with. So I want to make sure to thank those individuals, Alex, Jamie, Tom, who's not here, again, Susie, who often came, and then the staff as well. Know that you are appreciated, and we know that sometimes those meetings, they had some tension, but we worked through it. And I think that what I loved and appreciated at our last meeting, we were just really able to share the growth and the level of which we've come and how we can respectfully agree to disagree, but continue to keep this work at the forefront. And I think that that's what's most pivotal in this moment. We know that the committees have been restructured, and we are now mostly staffed with new chairmen. They are meeting, they are getting rosters, and now we can figure out what's going on. So that's a huge undertaking. Under this particular board, we implemented new board member orientation so that folks aren't as lost on their first meeting and at least have some semblance of what's going on, but also taking time past that to have board retreats. And so far we've had 2 of those. And hopefully the new chair will continue that. I will say that as we know, there are some successes, there are areas of growth and some challenges that we have really encountered as a community. One of those being is that we have to look at it. We know housing continues to be an issue, and that's what ultimately will end homelessness. So we continue to look at how do we increase our housing inventory stock. We do have a new housing committee, which is chaired by someone with lived expertise. So again, making sure that we are putting people in position who can carry this work, but also have their expertise at the helm. And so we know supportive services are needed because it's not just getting people housed, but how do we help keep people housed? Because sometimes once we alleviate the immediate trauma of homelessness, then all the other stuff starts to surface. The quiet is too much and things start going on for folks. And so how are we making sure that we are providing those services? And we continue to do that. And then I've heard Michelle really talk about what does equity look like. I will say that my first year in this seat, I wondered every day, what in the world are you doing? And I know that the community, this is a hard topic to discuss, the issue of racism, but I know for myself and understand why there's such inequity in this community because of the inequity that I have experienced in this seat. And I do challenge my colleagues to be aware. Racism is real, it is traumatic, and it is hard. And there have been things that I have experienced that I know for a fact no other chair has experienced in this seat. I've been called unprofessional, I have been called out of my name, I have received hostile emails, and I have had even to the point of where I think they've tried to file an ethics complaint. And so I say to you that when you think about these things, we gotta do our work. We need people in this community to be allies and co-conspirators in the work. See something, say something. Understand that what is it? What is this that makes me react this way to this person? So it's my hope that as we move forward as a community, as we really look at the inequity of homelessness, for people who look like me, we also consider how am I treating my colleague who essentially is supposedly the same as me, but there's something that still has me viewing them differently. And I will say we have charged on, we have continued to do the work, and I'm appreciative for those who have stood in solidarity with me. I do want to extend a very special thanks to this Homelessness Planning Council. You all have come, and I know that most of you have plenty of other things and obligations. You're CEOs of your own organizations, you have your own staff, but yet and still you continue to show up. It does not go unnoticed. Many of you all have become so active in committees. I mean, our council folks are just wonderful, and I am most appreciative of that. The COC general membership, we know that the work essentially lies within you all, and so I encourage you to continue that. I want to be thankful to Mayors Cooper and O'Connell for their support that they have given. Laura Ferguson Mims, who was my co-chair and really stood in solidarity and carried the work, but just due to conflicting obligations, ended up resigning. So, and then of course, the lovely staff of Office of Homeless Services. But as I conclude, I must make sure that I give a special thanks. I thought I was going to get through this without being emotional, y'all. But I want to give a special thanks to April. And this is why. Leadership is hard, y'all. And we have taken some hard hits up here. But what I have noticed is the grace in which she has continued to lead this cause and the effort and the time that goes into this. And oftentimes it's unappreciated. But I need you to know, I see you, I appreciate you. You are doing a dynamic job. And no, the community may not always agree, but you continue to keep this work. And there was something that the HUD TA said in our meetings that just stood out to me. She said, you are carrying the responsibility of 2,000 people experiencing homelessness. And ultimately she is, because when things don't work, it's not the loudest person who is saying, oh, why are y'all closing those camps? We need to keep bringing water to people. It's April who's going to take that hit. She has to respond to council. She has to be the person who does that along with her staff. And so I know, and I've also fussed at her around the time that she's spending, the things that the late nights, the weekends, it is not easy. And so what I would encourage people to do is look at how can we support versus being such a distractor and negative, the side meetings, the things that are all pulling away from this cause. And so April, my dear sister, just know the heavy is the head that wears the crown, but you wear it well. And so today, I just want to publicly thank her for her support. I hope that you would take this as a means of self-care. I also surprised you with some flowers that Jamila's going to help bring because you are most deserving of this. And I want you just, anytime you have this, to take care of yourself, to know you have support, not just with me, but hopefully with every person in this room. And we appreciate everything that you are doing. So thank you. All right, y'all, because sometimes people don't give appreciation. It's easy to give the criticism, but until you sit in the seat, I just encourage you to think about, what does this really mean? And so, again, thank you to everyone. Thank you for your support. I know that this board will continue to thrive and to continue to move forward in doing the work, because look at all of the wonderful people who are surrounded. So, again, thank you all for the opportunity to serve. It has been my joy most of the time. So thank you all so much. And thank you for enduring, just giving me that opportunity to have that moment. So with that being said, thank you. I do want to take attendance, and one of the things just to help for our newer board members, when we give attendance, if you receive COC funding or anything related that may be considered like a conflict of interest, if you would just let us know that at the time of the roll call, we would appreciate it. And I forgot, how did I forget to thank Metro Legal? Y'all know me and Metro Legal have had some times, right? But I do thank Derek, because Derek, I am not a Metro employee, and so I'm just not privy to a lot of the rules. So thank you, Derek, as well, for hanging in there and oftentimes just being head on the swivel to quickly give me advice and to be supportive of this body. So at this time, we will take roll. Kenitha Patterson. Stephen Handy. Deidre Childress. Liz Mallard. Alex Smith. Jamie Villegas.
Present, no conflict.
Dr. Xadria Inslee. India Pungarcher. Drew Freeman.
Here, no conflict.
Deanna Allen Robb.
Present, no conflict.
Michelle Southard. Is it Southard or Sutherland?
Southard.
Southard.
Yeah. Here, no conflict.
Andrea Hancock.
She's present.
She had to leave for a work obligation. Meredith McCloy Jolin.
Here, no conflict.
David Langle Martin.
Here, no conflict.
Jordan Huffman, Courtney Johnston, John Rutherford,
Present, no conflict.
Rico X, Adam Hansen, Ashley Horton, and Lizzie Goddard. So I've had OHS staff check. We do not have any public comments on our action items, so we will move forward to the remembrance and moment of silence. So these are the names that we have received for the months of June and July that have lost their lives to homelessness. So I'm going to read those names and ask afterwards that we just observe a moment of silence for these individuals. Richard Smith, Jeremy Mooneyham, Andrea Brown, Monica Nolan, and Craig Hunley. If we could just observe a moment of silence for these individuals. All right, thank you all for that. We will now, you should have received an email as well as before you our June 2024 meeting minutes. We did not meet in July, so therefore there are no minutes to review for that month. But if you all could review the June meeting minutes, and I will entertain at this point if there are any corrections that are noted. Any noted corrections? Great, hearing none, we will accept the June 2024 minutes as printed. Thank you, Raquel. At this point, we will move forward with our reports from the Office of Homeless Services, April Calvin, and then also from the MDHA Collaborative applicant, Susie Tomey.
Hit it once. Can you hear me now? Wonderful. So it's already started to be a very emotional morning. Was not expecting all of that. Was rushing in to get a nice, beautiful plant for Jaha. Slammed on brakes, cracked the vase that it's in. But, you know, we're here. On behalf of the Homeless Planning Council, Susie and MDHA and our OHS staff, Jaha has done a phenomenal job, and we have moved so much work in the last 2 years that probably would have taken 5 to 10 years previously to move. So excited to see that level of momentum, and hopefully we'll continue forward. We have funding, we have housing, we have political and public will, so there's no reason for any of that to stop, right? And we have a whole new office that helps to carry all of this, even my own team helping to bring in plants and flowers, right? So thank you all, and thank you so much for all that you do. A little flustered now, and I've already balled up my notes and trying to fan, so here we are. Technical assistance. I just want to kind of give high level of overview for the new members on this board of some of the work that's currently going on or some of the things that we are, working through right now. Cloudburst is our technical providers, and they were here on site in Nashville in July, and they did a couple of CE workshops. I think it was maybe 72 people that was present at that workshop, which was huge. A big chunk was OHS office, but over 40, I think, was community service providers. So that's exciting work. We're looking to retool the CE tool, and so there will be some stakeholder group meetings and things like that that would move forward. Also, we talked a little bit about downsizing this homeless planning council. That work lives right now within COC. During the general membership, they were able to draft some responses to some great questions. Those questions will be sent out to this board. We were just waiting for new members to come on before we move forward with sending that information out. The National Alliance to End Homelessness, I am so excited. They have a director of lived experience. His name is Albert Townsend. He came to Nashville at the end of July, worked with Kanitha, our CAB chair, and the other CAB members, and maybe 30 to 40 members that participate with the contributor. The CAB meetings are currently at the contributors breakfast, and it was some awesome work going on there. So I'm sure Kanitha may want to share a little bit in a little bit. Built for Zero. Built for Zero is working with us on several initiatives, mainly with families and with veterans. So to my right and to my right, they are building in two positions. One is a capacity building for prevention and diversion efforts. What I think of when we want to address homelessness, we really got to figure out how to fish upstream a little bit more and close the front door, which is the prevention and diversion efforts. And then they're working with us on a capacity building grant for veterans to continue to move that work for veterans homelessness. They actually reached out briefly or recently on a community leadership session that's going to be in Atlanta to help with utilizing our community strategy to address homelessness across the nation. They've had several conversations with us, and we've had several conversations with Clutch Consultant, and actually was on a call with the Mayor's Forum. Probably over 100 mayors were on a call just yesterday discussing our process and their process of how to address unsheltered homelessness based on the grants passed. A lot of that is how do we move this work up? How do we position this work to the federal government to say we need more money as local cities and local communities? And then the other part is how do we align strategically with efforts from like the 19 strategies. USIC deployed 19 strategies on how to address unsheltered homelessness. So that call, maybe about an hour and 15 minutes, was all about that, and excited to. Hopefully I'll be able to gather some minutes from that, and we'll be able to share that with you all as well. I always like to talk about funding opportunities. There was an RFP out for Metro Cold Weather Shelter. We had 0 applicants. So here we are, right? OHS is gearing up to stand in. We have inherited that from Metro Social Services. They did great for 10 years. They were the agency on record providing that service. Also, we're working with the health department on an MOU for peer support, which is awesome because what we know we need in order to end homelessness is not only housing, not only supportive services, but actually peer support that can help walk individuals through the process. State, I'm super excited about this. We're working with the state on 2 different initiatives. One is the IPS, and the other one is, which is employment opportunities. And the other one is with the faith-based initiatives, and looking to see how do we bring faith leaders into the scope of work. So more to come on that soon. And then there's several federal NOFOs that are out. Susie's almost breathing a little bit of sigh of relief, but not so much, because we're like holding on to her coattail and her dress there. And I would be remiss if I did not say that Susie recently experienced a loss. Her mom passed away here recently, and she can share information. We'll share information through our COC on if you want to provide donations to a cause that her mom supported. So all of those NOFOs are there. There was one prevention, in the prevention fund. I think someone was reaching out to our office wanting OHS to apply for it. We've talked with legal aid. We've talked with a couple others, and I think the concern there, it is more of like advocacy work, not so much direct financial assistance. So that fund actually lives, there's a state fund that lives with the state and legal aid, and we thought they would be best positioned to continue to move forward that work because it was not direct assistance like financial assistance, which is what a lot of our individuals could really use. there's some concerns, right? Concerns as it relates to family homelessness. I think the Nashville Rescue Mission has experienced an increase in families that are experiencing homelessness. OHS has deployed funds, deployed staff, and helped to, convene efforts around that. I think also we have a new contract with Safe Haven that helps with housing families in hotels. And our landlord engagement department has gone gangbusters in bringing on more housing opportunities for families. And then the opioid overdose rate. Nashville, maybe 8 months ago, I've not checked the numbers, Nashville was number 2 of all cities in the United States. I don't know how many cities there are. Somebody here probably knows, or we can Google. But of all cities, and Tennessee was number 2 of all states. And unfortunately, it is disproportionately affecting our individuals experiencing homelessness. And so we're looking to partner with agencies that have recovery, like we partner with Mending Hearts. We partner with Elam Center. We're looking to go in contract with Welcome Home Ministries because needing housing options and detox beds and, options for medically assisted detox is something that our individuals need, and they need that at a rate that they don't have to compete with the normal public and the normal population. So we're looking into that. Things to celebrate. Oh, one more thing I do want to address. There's been a data accessibility, I guess I'll say. Thank goodness a previous employee shared with us that she had access to a spreadsheet, and we're working with Metro Legal and Metro IT. No health care records, no HIPAA concerns there, but just other concerns. So I just want to make sure you all know if there's something out there, we are on top of it the day that we found out, and Metro Legal and Metro IT is providing guidance as we speak. So more to come on that, but no HIPAA or electronic record concerns there. Things to celebrate. Jaha gave us a huge list of things to celebrate. Some of that's like, wow, that just happened. I need to take better records, but sometimes we don't celebrate as often as we should because we know the work is not done and we really don't quite have time to celebrate in those small moments. So what we need is a chief celebrating officer that's their only job, is to help make sure that we celebrate the small stuff. But one thing that is huge, many of you all may have been in this room or around the table when about a year and a half ago, maybe nearly 2 years ago, MDHA took us to task. We had vouchers that were being severely underutilized, and CE went on the road. I know, yeah, CE went on the road. We revamped the way we were doing things, and happy to share, it's a pain point still, but happy to share that we are at max utilization of those vouchers. Yay! So the pain point means we're on pause. But I would much rather be on pause because we got put on pause a year ago because we were not spending them and MDHA's utilization rate was suffering and we were put on pause because we were in the naughty lane. So it's good to be put on pause because we did our job. But for me, how do we show that not just to our local MDHA housing authority, but to the federal, to HUD? How do we show to them that our census is as such, our housing market is as such, our homeless numbers is as such, and we can utilize those vouchers as such. So I think that is a way that we will be able to help MDHA be very strategic in writing and explaining how we reach max capacity, and they're going to continue to watch that. So we're on pause. We're not on discontinue. We're just put on pause as they continue to watch that. VASH, veterans vouchers are still available. Mainstream vouchers are still available, and a little bit of Shelter Plus Care. So I know in the community you're going to hear these grumbles because it sounds like a pain point, but I celebrate that we're at that place for that pain point because you don't like getting put on pause and you still have money on the shelf. So this is excellent.
Hey, April, just for clarification, utilization, does that mean that they're in the hands of people or that they're being used for housing?
Both.
Just, okay, just
Both.
curious.
In the hands of people and being used for housing.
Got it.
So the ones that are on pause, it does not affect the people that are in housing and being utilized, does not affect the ones that are actually in the pockets where people are searching for housing. Our landlord engagement team has brought that down to an all-time low, and that's how they've been able to really have real-time data, MDHA, real-time data on where they are financially, because it used to be over 100 vouchers walking around in the pockets of the community. And now, I don't have the number in front of me, but it's much smaller than that, and it's something that you can monitor monthly. So it's exciting, but that just means we have to get super creative. But we continue to share information with MDHA so that they can fight for our community to receive more funding as it relates to that. One last thing. I say that, but there's a whole lot of stuff on here. One last thing. Our HMIS department has been instrumental in moving the work forward with getting the missions data into our database. And the first batch of data was imported, synced, and this is not just a data dump, right? This is where it syncs every field. We'll know male, female, number of children. It syncs to every field, and it was successful. They say successful, and then there was like 2 or 3 things that we needed to tweak. So it's like successful, but 2 or 3 things we need to tweak. My team's like, there she goes again. But anyways, we're there. And so I'm going to do it a couple of more times before we roll that data out. Things to note and to be understanding of. One, within the last 2 years, we've really moved the data as far as outreach efforts, entering that data into HMIS. We had a huge footprint of people living outside that was not really captured in HMIS. So our numbers look a little wonky, right? Because we've started to make sure that that is in there. Well, it's going to be the same for our Nashville Rescue Mission when that data is imported into HMIS. We will not know a true baseline. HUD's like, you won't know a true baseline for at least 2 years. And so when we're giving reports out on data and it's increased, did it increase or did we just capture it better? So just want some patience there as we work through our HMIS team with getting that information and making sure that we're watching and monitoring it appropriately. I'm going to stop there. One more thing I do want to say. It's so much good stuff. Tours. A lot of people keep asking for tours of Strobel House. And she's here. She's going to report in a little bit. The exciting thing is we're working with her on 1 tour a month. If any of you all run programs, you know how difficult it is to stop, make sure everything is shiny, and give a tour. It's hard. And you're still trying to bring in new people and give some sense of privacy and confidentiality and a sense of normalcy. So a whole tour of business people walking in does not give a sense of normalcy. So we're looking to plan 1 day a month, and however many come, hopefully it's not like 75 to 100, but however many come, they're going to come on that 1 day just so that we can offer some peace there. But she will share some, she's our story of progress at the end of the agenda.
Director Calvin, thank you, first off, for this report and for all the work that you do. I have one question under Metro in regard to the cold weather shelter and the fact with the RFP and not getting any applicants. What's the future of that? Will the RFP be reopened, or what's the plan there?
Great question. This is the 2nd year that it was opened with no applicants. Last year we extended until procurement said, wishful thinking, right? They didn't say that, but they just said not going to happen. So we pulled it, and Metro Social Services continued to operate throughout last year. So this year, in preparation before cold weather shelter, we wanted to give it another shot, and there were no applicants. We could probably try it again next year. The concern there is we now need to start using those funds to prepare to operate shelter. Just because there were 0 applicants doesn't mean that the work doesn't have to happen. So we're purchasing items, getting the shelter stocked, getting prepared. Typically, it's about 40 to 45 nights of cold weather shelter. An average of the last 3 years have yielded that number. So OHS and partnering agencies, and we're working with the health department. We're working with Meharry for some medical assistance. We're working with Nashville Public Schools because they have cafeteria employees that may love some extra overtime. So we're really, looking to move it forward. Thank you.
I have a clarifying question. For the voucher utilization, is that across the Housing Choice voucher portfolio at MDHA, or is that for the certain amount of set-asides going through coordinated entry?
Great question. That is what they gave us for our set-asides. I'm not sure of how that relates to their overall portfolio.
Director Calvin, thank you for your report. I want to follow up from the May meeting where we talked about the interim housing site operated by the Salvation Army, the Roadway Hotel. As of that report, we knew that the Salvation Army had some new majors coming in. We were getting some capacity building grants hopefully established for them. And I just wanted to get an update as to the status of that site.
Thank you, Jamie. The Salvation Army new majors started late June, early July. I've had two meetings with them. And they actually have a new executive director as well. Looking to have a meeting with her as well. We had a meeting with the hotel owner and security and the new majors, and they all still have the appetite for it. The capacity building grant has been deployed. I believe there's some staffing up that's going to happen with the Salvation Army. Our grants and coordinating team is continuing to monitor that process, and we'll have another meeting with them as we, look to move forward with the prioritization team and some other efforts there. I don't know if we print it, but there is a document that we'll share with you all. Oh, it's in here. I didn't get a chance to talk about it because I went too long. But there's the document here that highlights the work that's happened with the $50 million that Jaha discussed, and it has the interim housing options in there. The capacity building grants, we've just finalized most of that with Metro Council and now working out the kinks with the service providers that receive the funding. Thanks for asking.
Any other questions, Deanna?
Just a quick question for you, April, and because I've underlined both of these. So no applicants for the cold weather shelter, and then the agreement with an employment specialist, Is there a way to connect those two? I don't know the extent to which staffing is a challenge for the cold weather shelter, but for our neighbors that need employment, is there a way to connect those two together, the cold weather shelter and those that need employment?
So the state's employment specialist program is a very intense program, and there may be an opportunity there, but it would be where they're providing that service to people that are newly, coming in from, or newly housed, and or could possibly still be experiencing homelessness. So just depending on that contract and that MOU with the state on what that looks like.
And as a reminder, you all, I know oftentimes when cold weather starts, so we've heard no one wanted to get the RFP, but we know we always hear great feedback from everyone on what all Metro could do better with that shelter. But as a reminder, the shelter is not, it really is to triage and keep people safe through cold weather. It is unfortunately not what we would consider like in the veteran world, we call them service centers, but we do have those places available, which are Room in the Inn, who has dynamic programming and opportunities for folks to get that employment, to get those life skills, to take classes. Those are offered all throughout. So I want to encourage us to be mindful of the resources we have and make sure that we are utilizing the agencies and places that are in place to really assist folks. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. And again, some of the ideas and critiques that agencies have, I would really encourage you to consider, okay, let's get my board behind this and we take this on. So consider year 2, and no one has taken that on. So with that being said, we'll move forward with Susie.
Good morning. I'm going to just take a couple of minutes just to go over some things, and then I'm going to ask Allison to report because she is much more up on the local application processes and taking care of all of that. So again, I'm sort of stepping down as the collaborative applicant, but in HUD's eyes, where MDHA is still seen in that role. So technically, I'll be assisting a whole lot with them, but the OHS staff are going to be the ones who are really carrying the heavy weight on a number of things. On the COC regular NOFO, on what I'm sure Allison's going to report on the YHTP potential funding, which is for youth. And then I do want to promote that there is a COC Builds NOFO that is also out. I'm hoping that MDHA can really help in that because it is primarily for acquisition and rehab and also for new construction. And I think MDHA's got strengths in those areas. I think like 80% of the budgets need to be in those bricks and sticks, a limited amount of operating and a limited amount of supportive services as well. The deadline for that is a little after the regular NOFO deadline, which is the 30th, and then the COC Builds deadline is November 21st, and we'll be getting some information out about that. And I am back in OHS staff. I keep pointing to Allison. All the way in terms of this collaborative application process. If you sat in on the NOFO webinar from HUD yesterday, it is just so complicated. It crosses your eyes. And I've done it for years, and it's still complicated. So I totally commit to assisting with the OHS staff in that application process as we move forward. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Okay, I'm not Susie. I'm Allison. Well, number one, I just want to say, again, thank you to Susie, who truly has been like a constant resource for us over the last year. Several of our staff attended the HUD webinar yesterday about the NOFO, and it just really hit home for me that if we were coming into this completely cold, this would be really, really hard. But we've been working really closely with Susie for the last year, so I think we're well positioned. So the news that I have to announce to you is that the NOFO has dropped, finally. We were waiting on it for quite a long time, but the NOFO has dropped. One big change this year with the NOFO is that it is not going to be a one-year NOFO as it has traditionally been. They have moved it to be a 2-year NOFO, which means that everyone in the community only has to submit this application every 2 years instead of 1, which is going to free those agencies up. Yeah, it's a big deal. It was years in the making with HUD. But it's going to free the agencies up. It's going to free, the collaborative applicants up to do a little bit more, in the weeds work because we won't have to do an application every single year. Now, while the NOFO has dropped, the bonus amounts have not. We do know that there will be a DV bonus this year again, which is great, but we don't have the amount yet. So we're still waiting on some of that information. One thing that I will say is that this year, really for the first time, we were able to begin the local competition before the NOFO dropped, which is a best practice that's recommended by HUD. We've gotten that recommendation from HUD TA. And it's something we wanted to do for several years. So the local applications went out. The agencies had a nice long window to submit applications, and now the PEC has a nice long window to look over them and to score them, which is really exciting. So the PEC, the Performance Evaluation Committee, is meeting next week to begin the scoring process. And of course, we at OHS are working on the consolidated application, which is the community-wide application. So I promise that we will be reaching out to many of you for information to make sure that we're highlighting all of the really good work that's happening in the community. But that's where we are right now. We had many submissions of applications. We had a lot of application submissions, which was great. And so we're excited to see how the PEC is going to rate and rank them. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you, Susie and Allison. We look forward to seeing what comes of those applicants. So that's exciting to hear so many have applied. We will now move forward to our updates, and I'm going to ask that you just come in the order. So once the person is done, if you will then proceed to either the podium or the seat that Allison just vacated. We are going to do the HMIS monthly report by Hannah, followed by the Strobel House referral process, Monty Talley, and then the Continuum of Care updates by Raquel. And then Allison will have the last three, which are the Youth Action Board and YHDP application, HUD technical assistance updates, and the FY 2024 Continuum of Care funding opportunities.
Good morning, everybody. We are looking at this. This is our HMIS monthly report, and I'm just going to go over the highlights with you. This is for the month of July 2024. And just a reminder that this is about the data from all 49 participating agencies in HMIS. So it's representative of our community, not just the Office of Homeless Services. And yeah, let's get into it. 3,043 people experienced homelessness in Nashville in July 2024. They were in 2,264 households, of which 305 families were families and 1,959 were adult-only households. You can see that from June to July, that was a pretty significant increase in family homelessness, from 246 to 305. Additionally, 9% of those people were veterans, 7% were youth aged 18 to 24, and 43% were experiencing chronic homelessness. And the bottom of that page is that 54% of the people experiencing homelessness in July were Black and 36% were white. And in July, 55% of people experiencing homelessness were men and 44% were women. Flipping over to the back to talk about housing. There are 169 people who were experiencing homelessness who were housed in Nashville in July 2024, which was 103 households, 30 families, and 73 adult-only households. And over the past 12 months, 2,067 people have been housed in Nashville. This is higher than it has been in quite some time because the month that dropped off the 12-month was the lowest we've had in a long time. So we haven't had 2,000 in the 12-month period for a long time, so that's exciting. Additionally, 14% of the people who were housed were veterans, 8% were youth aged 18 to 24, and 37% or 62 people were experiencing chronic homelessness, which is also quite high for a monthly number for us, which is exciting. And the average length of time from HMIS entry to move into permanent housing was 146 days. The ways that people were moving into permanent housing were 24 households were housed with no ongoing subsidy, 22 households were housed with friends and family, and 18 households were housed with rapid rehousing and 18 with housing choice vouchers or Section 8 in the month of July. And our shout out to agencies who housed the most households were the Salvation Army housed 26, Operation Stand Down housed 12, and Oasis Center and Catholic Charities both housed 11. And then to close it out, of the people who were permanently housed, 54% were Black and 28% were white, and 56% were men and 41% were women. And that's everything.
Questions for Hannah? All right, thank you, Hannah and team.
There we go. Hello. I just wanted to give a quick overview of the Strobel referral process today. There's been a lot of questions, and we're very excited that this is happening. So there's not an interest list. So we have a large number of people who we know are in need that comes directly from our by name list. So that is what we are doing. We are basing that on the ISBAT score and priority score, length of homelessness, disability, and document ready for Social Security card, ID, and birth certificate. We're also taking some additional considerations for district data of unhoused populations. Right now, downtown area is the highest, and that is what we're working with currently. We're also taking a healthy percentage from long stayers at shelter, and also those coming from encampments. And also definitely taking account for racial disparity and inequity of the on-house population of what we're seeing in our data. Any questions? Awesome, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I don't normally come up and speak here, so this is nice. One thing that was changed in the Continuum of Care Charter about 2 months ago was there was language written in to have both a Continuum of Care update at Homelessness Planning Council meetings and a Homelessness Planning Council update at Continuum of Care meetings. That was intended to hopefully connect both bodies and make sure that we have things seamlessly communicated. And so you have a packet, it's stapled together. It says Nashville, Davidson County Continuum of Care Updates, August 2024. I won't go into all the details because we truly just do not have the time. So I'm gonna keep it high level and I can answer questions. One thing I did want to mention is we did have a general membership meeting in July, and that was what April mentioned, where HUD Technical Assistance was able to be present. We will not have a meeting this week. Susie sent a schedule at the beginning of the year, so we'll be adhering to that schedule, and then we'll revisit next year in terms of if we need to add meetings, meet more frequently, less frequently. But the next meeting will be September 19th, and that's the meeting where we get all of our membership organizations and individuals together to strategize on ending homelessness. So you can read some of the updates there. Another thing I wanted to note at the bottom is I have updated our diagram for what our governing structure looks like as a continuum of care. We've had some shuffling of committees, some that have been added or merged in the process of the charter being updated. And so we wanted something that reflected our current structure. So you'll see all of those committees listed, and then I'm also working to update our webpage. So the Homelessness Planning Council page has gotten a little bit of a refresh. As of yesterday, there has been a Continuum of Care page that has been created, and I'm also working on a committees page because we know a lot of our committees are doing great work, and we want to make sure that we're highlighting some of the policies that they're creating, some of the work that they're working on. And so hopefully you'll see a lot more of that information online soon. A couple things to pull out. So we do have a handful of committees that are brand new and are just getting started. So we have 4 new committees. So there's a Housing Opportunities Committee, which is chaired by Homelessness Planning Council member Jamie Villegas. She's working on figuring out a good day to start and has been working on kind of like engaging and identifying potential stakeholders that would be helpful to be at that table. So that meeting has not been scheduled yet, but we'll let you know. The Coordinated Entry Oversight Committee is meeting next week for the first time ever. The chair is Grant Winter from Safe Haven Family Shelter. He's put together a really great group of providers who engage with the continuum of care and is also looking to get folks with lived experience on the committee. So they'll be meeting for the first time next week and hoping to work collaboratively with our Coordinated Entry team as well as the Coordinated Entry team at the Mary Parish Center that run the Domestic Violence Coordinated Entry line. And then, as Allison mentioned, the Performance Evaluation Committee is meeting next week. They will be scoring and ranking applications. So if you're interested in that process, feel free to come and attend. A couple other things to pull out is that we're restarting the point in time count subcommittee meetings. So those usually go dormant in the warmer months, but we are gearing up for winter. The count usually takes place in the last week of January. So it'll be January 2025 that we're looking for. If you're interested in volunteering, if you want to help strategize, they're going to start that work this Friday. And then, let's see, we have renamed the Shelter Weather Outreach and Prevention Committee based on feedback from the committee that their scope of work is a lot broader than just shelter. So they've been really digging into the outdoor encampment strategy from 2022. They've been collecting feedback from a bunch of stakeholders as well as people with lived experience and are hoping to move that work forward. And they've been engaging in a lot of conversations on what to potentially do about crisis levels of capacity at family shelters. We are starting back up the Standards of Care Committee, which has been dormant for a couple years now, I believe. And so that's chaired by Kenna Hassler from Park Center. And she's working to gather a group of people who were on the original committee, as well as adding some folks who might have some unique perspectives for that table. Equity and Diversity Committee met this Monday. A couple of things that are helpful to note there is one, they are digging into racial disparities data that we've noticed. Y'all reviewed the COC priorities report a handful of months ago, and one of the most glaring disparities was the gap in how long it takes Black families to get housed. That time frame, it's looking like it's a little over a month, and it's actually gotten worse in the last year or so. And so they've been trying to identify what could be potential causes. They had some great data shared from our HMIS system, as well as domestic violence coordinated entry. And we're hoping to collaborate with the MNPS HERO program to dig into potential family data that they have. But that work is ongoing, and they're hoping to eventually create a report for this body in case there are any recommendations that they might be able to discover. The other thing is that they did create an equity scoring rubric for this year's performance evaluation committee that will be included in the scoring and ranking of applications. They decided to add a lot more meat to it, to their methodology, and also work closely with our team to ensure that we had some strong questions to really get at the bottom of what our agency is currently doing to address inequities within their programs and the things that are in their control. And then lastly, on that committee's webpage, we're hoping to launch an equity and diversity resources page that could be utilized both by this body, by community organizations, by other providers, or people who are interested in equity issues related to homelessness. And so hopefully that will be going live soon. And then lastly, I do want to highlight our two boards of lived experience. Allison's going to talk a little bit more about our Youth Action Board, but we did launch a Youth Action Board at the beginning of this month, or actually at the end of July. This is a group of people with lived experience who are youth and young adults. We've had, I think, about 40 people engage with it since we started, and currently they're meeting weekly. So we have another meeting tomorrow. They're meeting Thursdays from 12 to 2 at the Oasis Center, and they're working with us closely on an application for the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program that Allison's going to talk about. And then for our Consumer Advisory Board, we've had a lot of successful meetings, a lot of successful conversations, working very closely with the National Alliance to End Homelessness to strengthen how we engage folks with lived experience. There was a strong conversation. We actually got all the chairs together last Friday to strategize and make sure that things are working seamlessly across our committees. And there was really a push to have people with lived experience on every committee, which is not something that we've historically had. And so the CAB is hoping to collaborate more with chairs to identify folks that would be a good fit and have good experience and expertise for what they're talking about. So they have another meeting at the end of this month back at the Contributor, and this is going to be a partnership with the Housing Division, the Metro Planning Department's Housing Division, on their unified housing strategy. So they'll be gathering feedback from folks with lived experience. So if you know anyone with lived experience who would like to attend those meetings, we do pay people for their time and would love to know what they think. So I can pause. Okay.
And just as a quick reminder, as Allison prepares, so for board members, I encourage you, there will be more talk about these committees and how you can get involved at the board retreat. But in the interim, please look over the committees. We do encourage board members to be a part of a committee, and so determine which one is a good fit for you. So, Allison?
All right, so I'm here to talk about YHDP. Now, as April and Susie both said, we've got several NOFOs that were dropped in the last month or two. One of them was, I believe, the round 8 of the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program. Now, we received that funding, Nashville received that funding back in round 2 several years ago. And the Oasis Center right now receives that funding, and they carry out those programs. Traditionally, you got the grant the year that you got the grant, and you could renew that, but you could not apply for additional funding. Until this year, we were told that a few of the communities that received funding in round 1 and 2 that hit certain metrics for performance would be allowed to apply again. And I believe that you have in your packet a list of those communities. There's not very many, but we are on it. And so, we're eligible to apply for additional YHDP money. We're going to do it. So we have been meeting with stakeholders in the community who do this work around youth and young adults to work on the application. And then one of the requirements, as Raquel said, was to have a youth action board, which the COC did have several years ago, but which has been dormant. So we worked really closely with Oasis and several other organizations that work with youth to recruit them. I have to say, at the first YAB meeting, I was really blown away. We had 29 attendees at the first meeting, which was fantastic. And they are giving such wonderful input. They have a lot of thoughts, a lot of opinions and ideas. Last week, they finalized their mission statement, which they came up with on their own. So this is a really exciting time. So YHGP, we're kind of polishing up on the application because it's due very soon. But the YAB is going to continue to meet. Because I think that folks have realized that this has been a gap and this is something that we need. And so shout out to Jaha for helping us get the YAB moving really, really quickly because it has happened very fast. I know I'm also on here to talk about HUD technical assistance, but April has already spoken on a lot of the TA. I will just say that, Cloudburst was in town. We had a very full agenda for them. Albert Townsend from NAEH was in town. We had a very full agenda for him as well. We have also been working with CSH on work around the Strobel House. And right now, we had a few buckets of areas where we were working with HUD TA. One of them was moving the collaborative applicant, which is essentially done in every way, except for we're just waiting for HUD to move the grant. So now we're really going to focus with them on, we've been working with them on updating the CE prioritization tool, and then really digging into HMIS compliance with different types of federal privacy law like HIPAA. And I believe I went over pretty much everything for COC funding opportunities. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Allison. All right, moving forward to new business, which is our action item for today, is the Homelessness Planning Council Chair and Vice Chair elections. Per the new bylaws, the election will be, of course, for chair and vice chair. Historically, it has been for chair, vice chair, and secretary. So just want to make you all aware, I'm not forgetting a position, but we do have new bylaws in place. Also, at this time, what we'll do is just to let you know, we're going to take each position. We'll take each position. I'm going to call for nominations. We're going to call for the vote by a show of hands. We will then take that vote, and then we will move to the next position, okay? So at this time, I will entertain any nominations for chairman of the Homelessness Planning Council. The description of what all is involved is in your bylaws, which all of you all should have be in receipt of. So here we are. The floor is open for nominations. Jamie.
Madam Chair, I would like to nominate myself for the office of Chair of the Homelessness Planning Council.
We have a nomination for Jamie Villegas for the office of Chairman for the Homelessness Planning Council. Is there a second? No second. Y'all have to excuse me. Metro's a little bit different. Sorry. Okay. We have Jamie. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Kanitha? No, we don't. There is no second. So the question is, Deanna, do you accept the nomination?
Thank you for your confidence in me, but I respectfully decline.
Okay, she has declined the nominations. Are there any other nominations? Liz?
I'd like to nominate
Kanitha, do you accept the nomination? Was that a no, or what?
yes. Could I have more information on it?
Sure, thank you for that. I need to pull out, that's the old one. If someone has the description, oh, I have it in front of me. Let's see here. So I'm turning to our bylaws, and what I am going to do is read what the responsibilities are for chair. So HPC chairman, duties include, without limitation, you call meetings and preside at HPC meetings, make appointments of all committees, committee members, and committee chairs deemed necessary for the operation of the COC, serve as a member ex officio of all committees, provide reports to the COC as needed, implement all documents, papers, and instruments as directed by the COC. And then no person shall serve on the HPC chair role if they have a conflict of interest as set forth in section L. Well, my apologies, these are new, so I'm having to remember where's section L. Thank you for that. What is this, H? So I'm pretty sure the conflict of interests are the same, like if you have receiving of funding, let's see, conflict of interest. A conflict of interest is an actual perceived or potential conflict that has the effect or intention of advancing one's own interests. A conflict of interest occurs when an HPC or COC member is affiliated with or has an immediate family member who is affiliated with an agency that receives funding overseen or distributed by the continuum of care or otherwise has a relationship with an agency that receives COC funds that gives rise to the appearance of impropriety. Members shall disclose potential conflicts of interest to the full HPC or COC general membership. And so what I'll just say, let me give you the breakdown. You accept? Okay, because I can say. Okay. Any other nominations from the floor? Any other nominations? Going once, going twice. Any other nominations? We will close the floor for chairman of the Homelessness Planning Council with the names of Jamie Villegas and Kenitha Patterson. So with that being said, at this time, we will call for the vote. All those in favor of Jamie, please raise your hand, and we will have to, Metro rules, you all, we need to be able to see who's voting for who. So if you could raise your hand so that Raquel is able to see.
You need to record the roll call vote.
You said we're gonna do hands.
I know, but she'll have to assign the
She is.
name to each hand.
Are y'all voting? Okay. You cannot vote, Wendell, because you are officially off. I do have a certificate for you, though. Sorry. But, yeah. Okay, so it has been recorded for Jamie. And then all those in favor of Kenitha, please raise your hands.
Do new members, are we voting?
Yes.
Baptism by fire, you're right here. We didn't explain that, did we?
I'm sorry, yes, new members vote, old members do not, like those that have rolled off. But if you are still a current seated member, you do vote. And Raquel, tell me when you have it. Okay, all those abstentions. Okay, congratulations to our new chairman, Kenitha. All right, we are going to move now to the vice chair position. I don't know why I put this up, y'all. Okay, vice chair. Duties include, without limitation, preside, schedule, COC, HPC schedule meetings as needed, perform all other duties usually pertaining to the office of the chair as determined by the HPC and serve as primary liaison to the COC committee chairs. No person shall serve in the HPC vice chair role if they have a conflict of interest as set forth in section L, which I previously read. At this time, the floor is open for the position of vice chair. Kanitha.
I accept the nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Councilman?
I nominate Rico.
Rico, do you accept?
This is the marriage proposal.
I don't know if Kelly will like that, but.
Question.
Sure.
So in the event that I would accept, there are some considerations for applying for funding in the future. So I just want to clarify that, like, would that, if I was to be chosen, would that mean that I would have to step down, or?
I'm gonna give my interpretation first, and Metro Legal will probably correct me. My interpretation, at any time, if you are, because we all can have a conflict of interest on the board, but you cannot vote pertaining to that matter. But I will defer for final.
If a situation comes up, not only would you it'd be recommended that you recuse yourself from voting, but you should recuse yourself from any discussion pertaining to the matter. But you can do that on a case-by-case basis. Wouldn't mean necessarily that you had to resign the office.
I'll accept.
Thank you, Rico. So we have a nomination of Rico X. Are there any other nominations? Alex?
It's not for me. It's for Bibiana.
It's like a marriage proposal.
Thank you for your confidence in me, and I respectfully decline.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, so the floor closes with the following nominees, Jamie Villegas and Rico X for the office of Vice Chairman of the Homelessness Planning Council, which these are only one-year terms, so rest assured, folks, you won't be held hostage for life. But all those in favor of Jamie, please raise your hand and keep them so that Raquel can take the count. All those in favor of Rico, please raise your hand. All right, thank you all. We have closed the nominations, and congratulations to Rico X as our new vice chair and Kanitha Patterson as our chairman. And don't fret, I'm not gonna just take out of here like fire, I don't think. So I'm going to help transition you all, and we'll be available for any questions that you have, but you all definitely, you have great support, and I know you both will do well. So kudos to you all. And also just want to remind people, Jamie still has a huge undertaking because she is the new chair of our Housing Opportunities Committee. And so that is a committee the community has been asking for. It is here. And so I am encouraging folks to consider your support as well with that. So thank you all for that. Metro says I could either turn it over, but I'll finish this meeting since I was kind of told something. But just a quick FYI, which hopefully Kanitha and Rico will want to continue, is the board orientation. And so Raquel will be working with you all in terms of getting a date and what that agenda looks like. I think last year we had a really great orientation, retreat, whatever we want to call it. But it's an opportunity, one, for us as board members to get to know each other better, but really for you all to get to understand more structures, committee, us to review our community strategic plan that has been a commitment for us to continue to look at that ongoing. So this is that opportunity as well as suggestions and what does this board look like in terms of moving forward. So that wanted to just put that on the agenda in your minds. It is typically in February, has been what we have done, but it does not have to stay there. But one of the things we know is because everyone has such a busy schedule, or to use Director Calvin's robust schedule, we do like to get that save the date far in advance so that folks can make the accommodations as necessary. So be on the lookout, you all, for that information and at least a save the date. So with that being said, we are going to conclude. Let me do this before we conclude on Story of Progress, because you all know how I like to end on a positive note. I am asking any questions, concerns, unreadiness prior to us moving to the Story of Progress. Yes, Pastor.
Madam Chair, the question, the library is about to be closed in, I guess, next month for a couple of 3 months. And one of the concerns of churches in downtown Nashville is what is the plan of refuge for our neighbors who are unhoused? Good question.
Thanks for bringing that up. That was one thing that I left off of my areas of concern in my notes. For about a month now, Metro departments have been meeting with some of the large shelters like Room in the Inn, Nashville Rescue Mission, some of the outreach workers that typically provide service in that area downtown, our outreach team. There's every Wednesday, there's a small group or a large group outreach meeting. So there's been a lot of effort going into that. We're pretty close to narrowing down 3 other libraries in the vicinity that people can go to. OHS is going to be readily available to hand out bus passes and probably can connect with some of the churches in the downtown areas to have bus passes there as a staging opportunity. And just wanting to make sure that we have a form it's going to be a living, breathing document that will be modified as needed. So the form that you receive from Demetrius Cheney in maybe the next 2 days or so. It's in the newsletter. Let's go find it. So the form that you receive that's in the newsletter, we'll talk about what we're doing currently and how we're partnering with other agencies. And then also, I don't see it. Anyways. Absolutely. Maybe on the mic. I'll repeat for her because this is recorded and no one can hear you if you're not on the mic. So, So page 3, front page. This is a short snippet, but there is a 2 to 5 page document that covers a lot of the work that's going on, who's leaning in and where they're leaning in. It is a living, breathing document and it will be modified. It will be on our webpage. I think library is going to disseminate it. We'll make sure the churches downtown will have access to it, and we will make sure that our outreach team deploys bus passes and any other services that are needed to help make sure. The good thing is we're going to be going into a fall weather and not so much needing a huge heat response, but nonetheless, our unhoused individuals don't just use the library for refuge, right? They use it for searching for jobs or utilizing the internet and having access to the World Wide Web, right? So we just want to make sure that we still have that readily available for them.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay, so our closing story of progress is the Strobel House, which you all will have the person representative from DePaul come. But also, you all know, I'm like, we don't just come to meetings to sit, right? So you all have received this here, and you received it electronically. So the hope is that you all in your individual networks will scan this and be a support to helping folks feel at home. That is the ask. So I'm hopeful you all will look at how you can donate to the apartment, a community item or wish list. So just remember that, and you've also received it electronically. There's also an opportunity to write notes to folks to welcome them, which you all, we've had some really awesome folks move in, but they're like little happy homes. So give people messages of encouragement, which people will often need. So Raquel has some of those. I have two as well. So just take time out to do that. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our Strobel House representative from
Hi.
DePaul.
My name is Laura Alvarez. I'm the Nashville Program Director for DePaul. DePaul USA has been tasked we're actually blessed with running Strobel House. Yes. So DePaul USA is part of DePaul International. They are in 12 different cities in the United States with 25 different locations. In those locations, they provide things like day center services, permanent supportive housing, affordable housing options, and then also temporary shelter and transitional housing. Strobel House has welcomed its first residents. We have 8 currently, with the hope of 3 more moving in between today and tomorrow, so we'll be at 11 as of this week. We have 10 staff, so now the residents officially outnumber our staff. So I don't know what that dynamic looks like, but we are staffed 24 hours a day with case management. We also have peer support and residential aides there at night, along with a security officer from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Yeah. But since you opened the door for the ask, we are open for donations. We have our Amazon wish list, but really anything you could think of that somebody, an individual, would need in their house. Because I will say the majority of our residents have moved in with nothing more than a couple of bags. So any household items, decor, not furniture, because we are furnished, thank you to OHS, but pictures, artwork, any of those things, cleaning supplies, we need it all. Trash cans, oh my God, trash cans are the bane of our existence at this point, but we have 90 apartments. Yeah, so trash cans are needed, trash bags, anything you guys can think of, clothing. Very thankful for Second Harvest. They are providing a pallet of food for our new move-ins every other week, and so that has been a blessing.
All right, thank you.
I just want to know, how fast are y'all planning to fill those spaces?
Okay, so our plan right now is 5 a week, and then we take a break. So what that move-in process looks like is on Mondays, potential individuals that have been identified through CE come to tour the facility. On Wednesday, they come back and sign their lease, and then they can set their move-in date, whether that is Wednesday or Thursday. That gives our staff enough time to get to know them, get them settled, start working with them before the next round of individuals moves in. And so what we found is that as individuals are moving in that week kind of, the individuals that week are kind of grouping together and forming a community among themselves. And then the individuals from the week before are kind of like, oh, we've been here, we know how this goes, and are taking on kind of a mentorship role. So that's kind of cool too. I'm like, you've been here a week, you know what? But it's really amazing watching that community form so far.
I just was gonna say that someone saw like the advertisement and reached out to me, and someone did get in from when I shared the information with them. It was like really fast, so kudos on that.
Awesome. I just want to share, she said that thanks to April or OHS for the furniture, but I would be remiss if I did not share a sweet lady by the name of Lori Lazo that worked with Metro for many years. She was a part of the general service team. She identified, purchased, ordered, made deliveries for every piece of furniture in Strobel Center. About a month before it opened, she was in a very bad car accident and passed away. So please keep her family, her name, Lori Lazo, her name, we're looking at a way to honor her, whether it's the Lori Lazo Lab, whether it's, we're gonna send something to Metro Council to lobby them on a great proclamation for her. She made that building, what it is, and with very little input from us, quite honestly. And she's got 2 younger boys, so husband and 2 younger boys. Just wanted to share that. Not to end on a bad note, but I want to celebrate her in the work that she was able to do before her passing.
So if she was able to do that, you all, I'm hearing that there will be, you all are going to host some showers so that we can make sure folks come home and have the needed stuff that they have. So please make sure that we are carrying our weight as board members, and we are making sure that folks, again, are getting that second level of support as they come into housing. So thank you so much for your story and for all of you all's
Thank
assistance.
you. And I would be terrible if I did not also recognize Room in the Inn for providing dishware for every resident coming into the program, and also a keychain to put their keys on, which has been a hit, you know. And I will also share, our first resident, she would not let go of her keys, to the point where we're like, do you want us to hold those for you? She's, no, those are mine. And this is like 5 hours after her move-in. And then also the Strobel Siegenthaler family for providing bedding for the entire community,
So thank you all. Again, thank you, everyone. We will now conclude our August meeting at 10:08. Have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. One other thing, Mr. Wendell Seagrove.
Oh, yeah, make sure you get your.
We just want to make sure we thank you and honor you for your service to this board.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.